This is the Making Waves Mindset Show with your hosts, Richard DiBiase
and Dave Moskowitz. Learn from our journey as we share the ups and downs
of being your own boss.
Perfect. I got it. Okay. Perfect. Awesome. Well,
shall I get started?
We are.
Well, welcome everyone. We are at Terminal 3 Coffee Roasters here in the beautiful city of Toronto, Canada, and we are joined by the owners. Thank you for joining us on our podcast and show.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us. Thank you guys.
This is our second third. Sorry, this is our third on-scene recording. So we're very excited about this, and I think it's going to be a good one. This one.
It's going to be awesome. We have a beautiful Americano in my hand, some of the finest beans in the city, roasted on site, and we're going to dive deep. We're going to find out what it was like to come up with the idea of how you guys, obviously have known each other and then decide to come together and go, let's open up a roaster. Let's get a coffee shop going. Mm-hmm. And I think that's the story that inspires our listeners because they want to know the feelings, what it was like, the pressure, the stress, And so we're going to put that on you guys. We're going to roast you.
No, thanks for having us, guys. We really appreciate talking to you, and we both have different versions of the story, but
of course, right?
Yeah, but I mean, we're both in the finance industry, and we met in our first internship in 2015. And we both love making coffee. We have a passion for making coffee, just as much as we do for finance and what we do as well. And we always had a dream to kind of have something of our own. And, March 2020 wasn't a good year, really, for anybody. And it still is not an ideal situation that we're in. But, Horlick picked up the phone and said, I think this is the year to do it. And then from now on, from that point on, it was just go. We leveraged some of our connections in terms of, that to help us, put up a logo, the branding, the concept, and we just took what we learned throughout the years and kind of opened the place. I don't know, Horlick, you probably have something to say too.
Oh yeah, absolutely. March 2020, I gave Moe a call saying that I think it's probably a good year to open our business because we start working from home, and I think we got slightly more time to start thinking about chasing our dream, kind of. So we have been meeting on Zoom every week, basically just to try out coffee beans. We basically purchased every single green bean you can purchase in Canada.
Yeah.
Wow. And then we have a roaster at home. And then I basically just drop the green bean every week at his house.
Incredible.
And then on Zoom, we basically just do cupping ourselves.
That's great.
And then we do a blind tasting. We record every single bean's characteristics, and then we have a database. So we tried more than 130 types of beans.
Wow.
Right. So that process is very nice because it basically allows us to understand what region have a specific characteristic. For example, African beans tends to be more acidic, more fruity, whereas Brazilian beans or South American beans tend to be more nutty, chocolate, more suitable for medium roast. So we developed that tasting profile.
Yeah.
And then from there, we start going into distributors. We want to carry this beans, so that's how we started, basically.
How did you develop your palate to understand all these different tastes? Like, were you naturally just you have a good palate like a chef? Or?
No, not at all.
It's like how do you even go about saying, okay, I'm going to get my palate ready to taste different types of beans?
I think different. Again, I think the experience would be different with me and Horlick, and I can speak to myself. I come from a culture where we're always drinking coffee. When I was a kid, my grandmother used to give me little sips of Turkish coffee, and because it smelled so great, I was really bugging her to give me just a little sip. So I think that kind of helped me to develop that palate at a young age, to distinguish between the different notes and different coffees. And then I would say about age 14, 15 is when I started to get semi-serious about it and kind of do cupping on my own, trying different beans on my own. It didn't really help my stomach because I have numerous stomach issues right now from drinking coffee at a young age, but it did help and develop a special palate. Pretty much, a lot of people say I can taste, grape or fig or in coffees, and I can pick up on those notes. And we often do blind tests where we sit down and he's like,
Quiz time.
Guess where this bean is from, and guess what the notes are. I think more often than not we get it right. Really? So
I feel like I would be like, this tastes like coffee, and it tastes like the other coffee, better than the other coffee that I had last week, but better than the other coffee that I had.
Yeah, exactly. No, we often do blind taste, and then let's say every night we do 4 types of different beans, and then we rank them from 1 to 4. Oftentimes we're pretty similar. I would say almost every week.
Yeah, I would say 90% of the time.
90% of the time.
We agree on the ranking of beans.
Exactly.
Really,
yeah.
And you're ranking it based on your own palate taste or what you believe someone else will like.
So, it's based on different things, but cupping has certain criteria that you look for. It's 5 main things. It's the aroma, the flavor, the body, the acidity, and the aftertaste. The balance, all these things.
It's like wine tasting.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
such a fine talent and skill.
No, absolutely. And you rank it based on that. You add up the scores, and that's your final score. Right. And we did that pretty much for, like Horlick said, more than 130 different beans. And then we took that and we tried those same beans in different roast profiles. So we tried it as a light roast. So you multiply the 130 by I don't know how many roast profiles we tried for each.
Right.
And then after that, you go and say, okay, so I like this bean, I like this roast profile. I wonder how is it going to taste in a French press versus an espresso, right? It's because some beans will shine in a certain brewing method versus another one, and you'll get more taste and more flavor. So, it was a rigorous process, but it was so fun. And the most important thing is we loved doing it.
Right.
We were enjoying it. We weren't like, this is a project, this is a business, let's go out there and make money. It wasn't about it. It's never about money. It's still not about money. Mm-hmm. It's about doing what we really love. Yeah. Yep. And I feel like this is the happiest time of my life.
Absolutely. You want our hearts because, I was down here for your grand opening in the fall, and as former police officers, we always enjoy a good cup of coffee. We've been everywhere. So, I brought Dave down, and we were just like, we have to come back. And that's when we decided, listen, these guys have some talent. They know what they're doing. We got to find out what the story is. So I want to jump back, though, because it seems like most of our guests all have that similar story. The pandemic comes. This is the time we're doing things. Most of the world is at home not wanting to do something, but the entrepreneurial mindset, we got to do something. This is the opportunity to build a business, to build a brand. What were the feelings like? What were you guys? I know it was, you picked up the phone, but there had to have been like, is this really the right time? Are we sure we're doing this? Are we going to be spending money to build something? And what was that feeling like?
I don't know. Well, the feeling, it's like first time being an entrepreneur, it's definitely a challenge, right? Because we're both graduate from business, from university, and then the mindset, it's always about do good at school, find a good job, and then, that's it. That's your career, right? Yeah. But we want to do something different, We think that we're still young. Before having a family, we should spend our time to try to, build a business. Yes. Because, again, like we both agree, once we get into our mid-30s or 40s, or once you got kids, you might not have the same time to grind as hard as what we're doing right now. Yes. Yeah. I don't know if you feel the same way.
Yeah, no, it's true. It's hard to say when is a good time, but going back to what we learned in finance, and even Warren Buffett said that so many times, is when there is fear, that's the good time to invest, because everybody is afraid, and then there's a boom right after it, right? Especially in COVID, a lot of people are home. There's a lot of disposable income because they've saved money on gas, on traveling, transportation, and all these things, right? And at the end of the day, I truly believe if you have a good product, right, and you have the right business model, it doesn't matter when you open. I think you will do well. It's just a matter of time. And I think that was always our kind of as part of our values, provide something that's good quality, something that you can't find anywhere else, something that's unique, and build the customer experience more than just come in, get a coffee, and get out. It's more, you come here, you have a chat, I ask you how your day is going, how's your kid that was sick last week, and more of having an experience. And we talk about different brands that we look up to, like Percentage Arabica is one of them. It's a Japanese brand, and they're from I think, are they from Kyoto?
Yeah, they're from Kyoto.
They're originally from Kyoto. Yeah. They're becoming very successful, and the key thing is the coffee is great, but their branding is out of this world. They make you feel so cool when you walk in. That's the word. You feel really cool, that you get addicted to that sensation, that you want to come back so you can feel that again. And for us, that's just fascinating, and that's what we're trying to do here. Create that type of experience for people. Yeah.
Makes sense.
And we see that. We see that with the customers as they come in. It's like, hey, Moe, hey, whatever. It's like, wow, they've built that rapport. It's,
it's nice. It feels like you're going into a Cheers. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Oh, absolutely.
It's like the guy, and here's your barista, and their names, and right. It's the same thing, right? You go into Cheers, you knew everyone that was there. Norm sits behind the bar, and it's not, obviously we're a little more sophisticated, or a lot more sophisticated.
We try to remember every customer's name, and also what they order.
Yeah.
I think that's very important to them. As a customer, you always want someone to remember.
Yes.
Right.
They feel that value.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I feel that's definitely an area where I think, the general business scene in Toronto needs to pay more attention to. I think, we've all traveled in different parts of the world, and I can say there's that one thing that's a little bit lacking in the Canadian market in general is the customer service and the customer experience focus. I can't remember the last time I had an incredible customer experience, so I think that's. And there is an opportunity always when something like this happens, where you go to different countries, you experience a different level of service. It was a challenge. A lot of sleepless nights. It's good that we're working with coffee, because that could help.
A little stimulant,
But no, there was a lot of nights where I was sitting down and I was like, Moe, is this the right time? I mean, you have a kid coming on the way, and you've got a good job. You have high potential to advance your career. So is this the right time? Are you willing to put that money and forget about it? And I think sometimes you just need that little push to go forward, and I think Horlick provided that. So whenever I had those doubts, he would put me back in place, and whenever he would, I'd put him back in place. So that worked really well.
Yeah, that's important to have, right? And you either find that in a business partner, or you find that in like your wife or your loved ones, or just somebody that you're mentoring, somebody that's mentoring you, right? And that's important that you found that. And so Horlick was providing you that backing that you needed just to push you that little further into that edge, which is awesome. That's great.
Yeah, he still does. Even now, as we're operating the business, there's so many things that I worry about. Did they do the latte right? How many, I always call him, did you make sure, I'm very paranoid with.
But that's key. That's part of the customer service experience, right?
Yeah, I'm so paranoid with, and Horlick is very different. Like, we have very different personalities. I'm very intense. I'm very paranoid, and I want everything to be perfect.
Yeah,
and Horlick I'm the warrior, and Horlick is like, don't worry, bro, we got this.
Exactly.
Right? Horlick is zen.
Yeah, he's zen.
Right?
He's zen. So I couldn't have done it without him, for sure. So, but we complement each other so well because we're good at different things. So that's key too.
Right. What was some of the decisions that scared you the most, do you think, in leaving your full-time to come into this? Or I guess that's the question. Have you left your full-times?
Nope, we're still with our full-time.
Okay, so that's a good question.
Yeah.
So you're still, so this is sort of your beginning of Terminal 3,
right.
Getting into it, keeping your day jobs and doing this on the side. Right. Which is taxing. Right?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a lucky one because actually my my bosses, like CEO, CFO, they all visited our place, and they know that we're operating this thing.
Okay.
Well, but I told them, like, listen, I'm going to perform as good as before I'm opening this business.
Right.
And I think the experience that I'll learn from running this business is going to help your company.
Right.
Because when you hire someone, you want them to have an entrepreneurial mindset as well, right? You don't want to have someone that has like a worker mindset. Because I can help your company grow in the same time.
Right.
So I persuaded them, and now
That's huge.
like, I think it's huge.
That's huge.
Yeah, and they're very, very supportive. Every time when we do meetings, they ask about our businesses.
That's great.
Yeah. So I think I'm pretty lucky on this one.
Sure, yeah.
So no objections from them at all.
That's good.
Yeah.
And where do you see yourselves going eventually? Do you see yourself transitioning eventually into this full time, or do you want to keep your financing position and stay with them until you retire?
Well,
or?
I mean, it really depends on how fun is the project, and so put it this way, I'm a person that I really like challenging projects instead of doing rapid like things that are very repetitive, So obviously, if this one flies off, I think I have to do a trade-off, right?
Of course.
If this thing takes me 20 hours a day to operate, then I will have to give up my full-time job, unfortunately, right?
Yeah. But the fact that you're even thinking that, right? Because you could have said, I don't know, but your mindset is that, if this gets to this level, you're prepared to get to that level. Right. So you've already set it in your mind. You've already put that entrepreneurial mindset of saying, I am ready to move into this 100% full time if need be.
Absolutely.
Right?
But again, if you run a business, you have to think big, right? And grind hard, right? You can't be saying that I don't know if I'm leaving my job. You have to think big. We want to bring this to a multinational company. We want to open many shops.
Right. Yeah.
Right?
That's great.
That's one of the mottos of our show is dream bigger, because we realize that those in the entrepreneurial space that are at the 9 to 5, there could be a narrow window, and they don't want to look outside the full window to look at the potential, and then they might not get the support of their current workplace. But the story, I think that's really just kind of hitting home for me here, is that you guys were able to do this while still doing your full-time job. And that is where entrepreneurial mindseted individuals in the 9 to 5 are like, oh, hold on, I can only do one or the other. Like, no, the grind is here. Like, you can do it. You guys can do it. You both are doing it right now.
Well, I think everyone can do it, because think about it. Your 9 to 5 only takes you 8 hours a day.
That's right.
You still got what, 16 hours a day to do your own thing, right? It just depends on if you're sitting on your sofa doing Netflix.
And that's we talk about that all the time.
Right.
Is how do you end up getting into your own business? You have to do that double duty. You have to burn the candle at both ends for a certain amount of time, right? You have no choice.
Yeah, I think Elon Musk said the same thing as well. Right, I saw it on the reel on Instagram. He was saying the same thing. You got 24 hours a day. It depends on how you use it, right? Yeah.
No, absolutely right. And even last year for us, it wasn't like it was easy at work. In the finance industry, when times are good, you're busy. When times are bad, you're even busier, because you're trying to get out of bad times, and you're always running these different scenarios and trying to mitigate risks and saving costs and managing your liquidity and all these type of things. So it's not like working from home for us last year meant working less. I think I worked more hours the past couple of years than when I was in the office. But you still have time to do something that you really love to do. And I think we're both on the same page, as in when it's the right time, when we feel that it's the right time, we're prepared to make this the thing and the job.
What are some of the lessons you've learned so far?
A lot of hands-on experience, like something that we never do at home. For example, fixing stuff, or even mopping. I don't want to say that because I live with my parents, right? But
that's awesome.
Yeah, no,
There's nothing wrong with that. If that's we won't judge you on the show.
I'm being honest, right? We mop every day. When we first started, we literally mop every day.
Of course,
we make sure this place is as clean as possible, clean as first day we open.
I mean, at home, I'm not handy either. Probably if the light bulb goes out, I probably have to hire somebody to do it, because I don't even know how to do that. But here, if the espresso machine is acting up, no, I'm opening the cover, I'm looking inside, I'm looking at all the wires, make sure the boiler is right, so it's because it's a passion and it's something that you love doing. I find myself sometimes doing stuff that I never thought that I would do. But other things we learned is really project management, right? When we first opened this business, we thought that it's going to be, we get a roaster, we get an espresso machine, we find the spot, and that's it. Yeah. You learn that it's never like that. And some of the things we learned about, the engineer, the structural engineer, getting the city permits, working with the city, which can be very frustrating, but getting and the positioning, having a certain amount of space between two tables and between 4 feet between counters and all these things that you never thought you're going to run into, and it's going to be a challenge. It was challenging, but it taught us so much. And even when we're looking for places to open the shop at the beginning, we were looking at spaces that, if I look back now, I think, how did we even think about that place? A roaster can never go in that place because it's in the middle of a plaza. There's no way you can vent it. But we didn't think about that back then. We thought, yeah, you can vent it, right? But now you have to look more likely for a corner unit where you can go off the side and all the way up. So all these things that we've learned, it's been a challenge, but.
So terminal 3.1, 0.2, 0.3, 0.4, 0.5 will be a lot easier to open.
Oh, 100%. I think so.
But hold on, though. We got to ask, how did you guys come up with the name Terminal 3?
It's we don't take credit out of it.
Yeah, it's we have a content marketing manager who's a good friend of ours. He's Horlick's high school friend, and he's an OCAD graduate. He came up with the branding, the logo, the theme, even all the drawings that you see here in the store today. It's all hand drawn by him. He's an illustrator, and his name is Ricky Leong.
Ricky Leong.
Yeah, he's a fantastic guy, a huge support. And the reason behind the name, he said, coffee connects people the same way airports connect people.
It's amazing.
You meet family and friends over coffee the same way you use an airport to go see family and friends all over the world. Beans are passengers. They come from all over the world and they meet here at the terminal. And the 3 represents the 3 times in the day you normally drink coffee. The morning to wake up, the afternoon to rejuvenate and freshen up a little bit, and then the evening to kind of relax and wind down and socialize. So
I love that. I love that.
That's really neat.
I love that story.
Yeah.
And do you put that story anywhere?
Yeah, it's on our website. It's on our philosophy page.
Awesome.
And a lot of customers are asking the same question as well.
I love that.
And
That's a great
we
story.
have a relation to airport. Yeah. Which we don't. Yeah, which we don't. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Do you guys foresee yourself maybe trying other beans? I think I shared with you, I spent a lot of time in Costa Rica last year. I love it. I went to those coffee farms. For those listeners out there who don't know how a coffee bean gets to your store or in your coffee grinder or your machine at home, the process is so exasperating. It is so long and lengthy, and the resources to make one bean, the people power, the energy, the water, I can't explain. Unbelievable. Is there ever an idea to maybe go, hey, let's get some Costa Rican beans. Let's bring in that nutty chocolate flavor from Central or Latin America?
Right, absolutely. So our business model is we try to get different beans around the world because each region, they have different characteristics, right? So every week, we actually order samples. We try cupping every month, or every week, and try to see if, let's say, if one bean runs out, what would be a good alternative? Or let's say if we try the Ethiopian, it tastes really good, should we bring it in? So we're yes, the answer to you is yes. Like sometimes we keep rotating our beans, and also we bring in beans that we feel like it's really good. So in fact, we do have Costa Rica for our decaf beans as well. Yes.
For our decaf, yeah.
Right.
We're always rotating because it's always, we have staples that, we always serve that we'll never change, but we're always looking for new beans because the harvest seasons change, right? So, certain beans you can't get year round, depending on the harvest season. But I mean, going back to the point where you said, it's a lot of work, and a lot of people put in a lot of work to pick those coffee beans.
It's by hand. There's no machine.
Exactly. We appreciate that so much, and that's why we try to support the coffee community as much as we can. Like in the month of January, we have this fundraising event, not fundraising, but if you buy a bag, $3 from each bag sale will go to a conservation fund. So in Canada. So and then the next one will probably be donating to a woman farmers fund as well, where especially in those countries where women are a little bit more unfortunate than men. Especially, and there are farms that are completely run by women. So the owner is a woman, and the farmers are women. We'd love to support people like that. So because we know how hard it is, like you said, how hard it is to get those beans off the trees and bring them here, and it's a rigorous process.
Oh yeah.
Did you decide right from the start that we are going to do coffee and we're going to roast it ourselves, or did you just that was it? That was the plan, or was it we could do coffee without roasting? Because there's coffee shops out there who don't roast their own.
Well, that was always a plan.
Okay.
Because not a lot of coffee shop in Toronto actually roast coffee in front of customers. I think 95% of them actually get beans from roasters, and it's something that we think it's a main thing for our business model. Because as a customer, you always want to know where your beans are from, right? For example, if I go cafe, I order a latte, I want to know which roaster supply your cafe, right? And we're very proud and say it to our customers, we actually roast it in front of you, right? And depends on time. Sometimes we literally roast it in front of customers, and they feel like they have a very good experience. It's a free experience on top of what they pay on the latte.
It's the icing on the cake.
Yeah, exactly.
I've been drinking coffee not too long. I know I'm not drinking it tonight. I'm having a tea. But I've been drinking black coffee since 2011, and I love the taste of coffee. I really enjoy it, and to go into a place where you see the roaster there is just, it's like that experience, you can't deny it. And the smells that come off when you roast it, and it's just incredible.
It's funny you say that, because usually we roast off hours, because roasting actually demands that you be fully focused on it. Earbuds in, you hook it up to a computer because it transmits data and draws all these charts. So when we roast in the morning, some of the people at the lake, if the wind is blowing that way, they'll smell it, they'll wake up like, they're open, and then they'll run here, right? So it's and even the gentleman living upstairs, he's like, I smell you guys every time you roast, and he loves it. But the roaster was always the plan. The roaster was always the plan, and that's another tip that people should know when they want to do something. Come up with a plan, come up with a model, and stick to it. We've had so many difficulties in finding a spot that we can put a roaster in, that every time we find a space, they're like, they don't want the roaster because they don't want the venting, they don't want all that. They're like, what is even a roaster? So it was just so easy to be like, okay, you know what? Forget the roaster. It's going to be a headache. We're just going to open a cafe. But we never deviated from the model. And that's what we always tell people, stick to what you think is going to work, and do everything you can to stick to your strategy and not deviate from it, because that's what's going to work. That's what drove you to think about it in the first place, right?
And I think that'll help the listeners and our followers, because it's that we have a plan, but all these other things come into play. And it's like, no, just stick to what you want to do. Don't let some of these things, change what you're passionate about and what you want to do, because that is going to make up your business. Are you going to be successful, or are you just going to be the 95% of the other coffee shops, right? You're doing something so unique. The customer experience is like 10 out of 10,
What do you say about the worst thing that could happen to you opening the business that you were afraid of that actually ended up happening?
That ended up happening, The good thing is that it's our first business.
Right.
So we didn't actually have past experience running a business, so we didn't actually anticipate anything wrong will go. So that was good. It's not like we were worried about something. But some of the things where, some of the scary things that could happen is the roaster lighting on fire, right? And it nearly happened a few weeks ago while we had the health and safety from the city guy in here. I was roasting and I got distracted by him, and then the thing nearly caught on fire.
Right.
I got it just in time. If I waited like 20 more seconds, this thing would have been on fire. But that was a very scary moment. But you learn a lesson. No matter who's in here, do not leave your roaster. So yeah.
Yeah, I don't think any bad things really happen except spending less time, on sleeping with family.
Okay.
But again, running a business, this is necessary to me.
Right.
Yeah.
So you lost out on some family time, but it was beneficial for the business.
Absolutely, 100%. And I think most of the entrepreneurs probably run into the same problem as well, right?
Yeah, definitely.
And we always say, if it was easy, everyone would have done it, right? So always remember that, right? Because it's never going to be easy, and I don't think it'll ever get easy.
Right.
Even if you become very successful, because an entrepreneur always thinks what's next, right? They never stop when things work out. They always think what's next, and that what next is going to involve more work, right? And
one of my goals this year for even my Instagram was, get uncomfortable, and trying to push that out to my followers. Like you said, it's when you start to get comfortable that you lose focus as an entrepreneur of what's next. So it's getting uncomfortable, having the positive mindset, you're going to succeed, cancel out the noise, and just keep pushing ahead. And I think this has been like an incredible experience just to go, you're bouncing around through different areas trying to fit, the system in, and is it going to work, and you made it work. You didn't give up. Here you are almost a year later, and look at it, this place is packed every time we've come.
Every time. One thing I want our listeners to hear from you, both being from the finance world, what is one thing or two things that you can give advice from the finance world in starting your own business? What was one thing that or two things that you were just sort of like, this had to happen, otherwise we're not doing this, from the finance side of it?
Maybe there could be something generic even for the listeners, how to prepare for.
Yeah, just
from that mindset.
I think some of our listeners, their issue is they're in their full-time job.
Right.
They're making every 2 weeks they're getting paid this salary.
Sure.
They have very limited or X amount of expendable cash, and they're looking at, they want to open this business, they want to put money towards it. Was there a point where you said to yourselves, okay, once we reach this point, this is when we're doing it, or was it sort of just like, here's the money, go?
Well, I think when we first started, we discussed about how much we have to chip in.
Yeah.
Right, and then we also did a scenario analysis, which is the worst case scenario. We basically predicted first 6 months we have zero business. Okay. And basically we're saying
not a single person walks in this store.
Yeah, not a single person walks in this store. How long are we going to survive?
Good. I like that. That's a great comment.
Yeah.
That's
part of the risk management. Because I think sometimes it's hard to tell when it's a good time to open a business because no one knows.
Right.
You won't know either.
You just have to take a chance.
It's like buying a lottery ticket.
Exactly. So for us, you have to take the chance, but also we got to tell ourselves, okay, we're going to chip in that amount of money. We have that amount of liquidity that would last us for another year. Yeah. And if it didn't work out, it didn't work out.
Yeah.
Right? But that's basically how we started.
No, it's true. And finance people and accountants in general, when they plan for things, they're usually very conservative. So I think that kind of helped us a lot in scenario planning for this spot and this place. We didn't necessarily say, okay, when we hit this much, we're going to go in and jump in. But I think that all started when we first met, because we always knew at some point we're going to do something like this. So I'm pretty sure both of us, I know I did, is we always put up money aside for something like this to happen. So it didn't just happen over a couple of years, but over a period of time. Yeah.
That's good.
I'm loving this.
Awesome.
I think it's a great opportunity to transition to where our listeners can find you. What are your social pages, your websites, and in closing, What else could we offer? Maybe some last minute, something off the top of your head, something mindset driven that our listeners can go, hey, this was a great episode. We learned from these two guys, and I'm going to keep that in mind as I begin or continue my journey. So kind of a two for one question.
Yeah, I think the main thing is believe in yourself. That's number one. Surround yourself around people that are going to support you, because you're going to need it. There's going to be a lot of sleepless nights. You're going to have fights with your wife, with your mom, with your dad, with your business partner. So make sure that you have their support, because it's going to be massive. And just believe in yourself, because anything is really possible. I mean, we always knew we were going to have this. I always knew. I dreamed about it. I pictured how it's going to look. I drew a picture of exactly how this place is going to look like, and it looks exactly like this. Right?
It's like a vision board.
That's it.
You got to plan it out. You got to see it every day.
Exactly. So yeah, that's my 2 cents, really.
Yeah, for me, you never underestimate how far you can go. That's it, you know. Especially when you're young, try to go as far as you can, rather than, you know, I mean, you got plenty of energy when you're young.
Yeah.
You don't have a lot of family, kids, you know, even your parents, probably not a lot of care about. Try to use all your time to chase your dream before it becomes too late.
I like what you said at the start, though. I want to go back. You were talking about school. It's go to school, get a job.
Yes.
You guys weren't afraid of stepping outside of the norm and taking that chance. And that's I think, the lesson.
Yeah, I mean, we both come from an immigrant family, right? You know, and immigrant families is always like, you know, you go to school, you get your master's, and if you still have some money left, you go do your PhD. And then you get your 9 to 5 at a big firm or at a big company, and you call it a day.
Exactly.
Right? And that was part of the challenge, convincing my dad and my mom to be like, hey, you know what, Mom? You know, I like what I do in finance, but I also want to do this. You know, and you know, with time they change, right? So,
of course, yeah.
So that's important.
But it's your passion too,
exactly.
Right? They see that in you, right?
Yeah.
The passion that you have, and that's what it's more important than the money.
Yeah. But back to your point, passion is very important. You always want to do something,
right?
That is your passion. For us, when we make coffee, we're smiling. Like, I can make coffee all day long.
Yeah, we see that. We see that.
Exactly. 24/7. And I think whenever you open up a business, it has to be your passion. Right. You can't go for, like, from money's point of view. I don't think it's going to work out.
Yeah, that's huge. We've had our guests speak about that, and Dave brings it up all the time. We have people who think they're chasing the dollar. They're not understanding it's about what makes you happy. Everything else will come together at the end.
Absolutely.
Right?
Passion go first, money will follow up itself.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I can guarantee you 70% of the cafes they open because they think it's cool, because they think they want to make money. You'll never get rich having one cafe. Let me tell you, I don't care how successful that cafe is, you're never going to make enough money from one cafe. The important piece is passion and drive, and if you're passionate, money's going to come for sure.
So where can we find you? Where do our listeners, where do they go?
So we are at 3337 Lakeshore Boulevard West, close intersection, Kipling and Lakeshore. And you can find us on Instagram, Terminal 3 Coffee.
Love it.
And T3roasters.com to get your beans or subscriptions or whatnot. So
Amazing. Well,
thank you so much.
It's been great. Thank you very much for allowing us to come to your shop. Coffee has been great. My tea was delicious. So if you're a tea drinker, come in.
It's Dave's bedtime, everyone.
I know I'm trying to ignore that, but that's okay.
I think you should kick him out. Like, we had a whole interview about coffee and he's drinking tea. That's a sin.
Right.
But yeah, we're looking forward. I hope that we could come back even at the end of the year just to go, hey, let's recap from the first discussion and what has the journey in the business space been like, because everyone is so fascinated about seeing how people go about this. So thanks again.
Yep. Thank you very much.
Love it.
Thanks, guys.
No problem.